Please, can you help me? The voice stopped Maya Williams mid-step. She had been power walking through Terminal B of Austin Bergstrom Airport, a boarding pass clenched in one hand, her phone in the other, scrolling through last-minute advice on smart responses to tough interview questions. It was supposed to be a routine flight to Chicago, a quick check-in, and a job interview that could finally lift her out of her stagnant mid-level PR role. She turned toward the voice. A young black man, probably not yet 30, was hunched over near a vending machine. His right ankle was twisted awkwardly, and he held onto the machine with one hand, as if it was the only thing keeping him upright. Sweat dotted his forehead, despite the terminal's cold, recycled air. Can you help me stand up? He asked, breathing hard but remaining composed. Maya hesitated. Her gate was 6A. Final boarding call was moments away. She had 7 minutes before they closed the doors. The logical part of Hertha, one raised by a single mother who believed in self-reliance above all, screamed, "Go, run, it's not your problem." But her feet didn't move. Instead, she tucked her phone into her purse and stepped over. "Let me help," she said, crouching beside him. "Don't move too fast. Did you fall?" Think I sprained it. Just got off a red-eye. Lost my balance. He winced as she slid her arm under his and helped him to his feet. His build was athletic, not bulky lean, strong, and now clearly in pain. His jeans were dusty, and he wore a plain black t-shirt. No flashy brands, no show. But there was something about him calm, unassuming that made her keep holding on. "Where's your gate?" she asked. "C14, he said, biting his lip as he tried to shift weight onto the injured foot. Other side of the terminal. So was hers, but in the opposite direction. Maya quickly did the math. If she helped him to his gate, she'd definitely miss her own. Torn, struggling with her self-help, or not to help. But then she looked at him again, grimacing, eyes scanning the indifferent crowd rushing by. "No one's helping you?" she asked, disbelieving. He gave a dry smile. "I guess I'm invisible today." And that decided it. "All right," Maya took a breath. "I'll get you to your gate." They moved slowly, across the polished floors, while other travelers zipped past with earbuds in and lattes in hand. Maya bore most of his weight without complaint, though her shoulder began to ache after a few hundred steps. "What's your name?" she asked as they passed a wall of digital ads. "Jaden," he said with a faint smile. "Yours?" "Maya, I owe you. Just buy me a coffee when we're both airborne." He chuckled. "Deal." At gate C14, a flight attendant was scanning boarding passes with a detached efficiency. Maya helped Jaden to the counter, where he showed his ID and limped forward. The attendant frowned, then nodded and gestured toward a separate door. "You're an executive first. Use the VIP ramp." Maya blinked. "Executive first?" Jaden turned, catching the surprise on her face. "Long story," he smiled. "I'm good from here." She let him go, resisting the urge to ask anything more. Her own legs felt like lead as she turned back the other way. Her gate was closing. She ran, breathing shallow, heart pounding, heels striking hard against the tile. Too late. Gate 6A was empty. The digital screen now read, "Departed." Maya stopped in place, hands on her knees, trying to catch her breath. Her phone buzzed in her bag, an email from the recruiter. "We're sorry you missed your flight. The interview slot has been filled. No rescheduling, no second chance." She sank into a bench and stared blankly ahead. She had just given up a major career move for someone she didn't even know. "Brilliant, Maya," she muttered. "Just brilliant." But somewhere deep in her chest beneath the weight of disappointment, something quiet and stubborn stirred. Pride, because she had done the right thing, even if it cost her everything. And she had no idea that, in that very same terminal, a man named Jaden Cole, who didn't wear his wealth on his sleeve, was already making plans to find the woman who stopped for him when no one else did. Maya sat still, staring at her phone screen with a blank expression as the minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity. The noise of the bustling terminal around her was drowned out by the buzz in her mind, the missed interview, the unanswered questions. She had always prided herself on being in control, on knowing exactly what to do at any given moment. But today, she'd been blindsided. With the disappointment hanging heavy in her chest, She sighed and ran a hand through her hair. She thought about calling her mom, getting some comfort, but the nagging thought of what she could have had was too much. Her heart sank when she remembered the email no rescheduling. As she reached for her purse, the hum of the airport seemed to fade away, and then she heard it. The sound of footsteps, fast and purposeful, getting closer. She lifted her head, just in time to see Jaden approaching. He looked different now, well-dressed, his athletic frame filling a sharp, dark suit that contrasted sharply with the plain jeans he had been wearing earlier. His hair was freshly combed, his posture more confident. It was hard to believe he was the same guy who had been struggling with a sprained ankle just an hour ago. "Maya," he said softly, his voice smooth yet carrying an undertone of something more serious. "I didn't think you'd still be here." She stood up, blinking, unsure whether her exhaustion was playing tricks on her. "Jaden?" He nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "I was hoping we could talk. I've been trying to track you down." Talk?" Maya blinked again, still trying to shake off the confusion. You're here to talk?" "Yeah, but I think you'll want to hear what I have to say." Maya folded her arms, crossing her arms defensively. "You've already done enough, Jaden. I missed my flight because I helped you, and now I'm stuck here with nothing to show for it. So whatever you have to say, I'm not interested." Her voice came out harsher than she intended, and she immediately regretted it, seeing the hurt flash across his face. Jaden paused, clearly considering his words carefully. "Look," he said, his tone soft but firm. "I know it's not easy to believe someone you've just met, but I wanted to tell you why I'm here. I wasn't being dramatic earlier. I actually own Skynova Airlines." Maya blinked, not sure whether to laugh or walk away. She crossed her arms tighter. "You own an airline? That's cute. I'm sure you'll be flying back in your private jet or something. Congratulations." Jaden shook his head, a chuckle escaping his lips. "It's true. And I wasn't just here on business today, Maya. I wanted to offer you a job." Her mind short-circuited for a moment. "A job? After I helped you? After I missed my interview because of you? You want to give me a job?" Jaden nodded. "I do, but not for the reasons you might think." Maya stared at him, unsure whether she was still caught in some strange dream. "Why?" she asked quietly, trying to keep the bitterness from creeping into her voice. "Why would you want to help me after I just ruined everything for myself?" Jaden's gaze softened. "You didn't ruin anything. You did what most people wouldn't, what no one else did today. You stopped for me when you didn't have to. I don't forget that kind of thing." Maya swallowed, her pulse quickening as the weight of his words started to sink in. He wasn't just trying to flatter her, he meant it. "I need someone who understands people, someone with integrity. I think you're that person," Jaden continued, his voice steady but warm. "I'm launching a global initiative to expand aircraft maintenance services to underserved markets. I need someone to help lead the PR side of things, someone who can build a story, a narrative. I want you to be that person, Maya." Maya felt the familiar ache of uncertainty creep in. She had just lost everything she'd been working for, and now here he was, offering something she didn't know how to grasp. A future, a second chance. "But why me?" she asked, shaking her head. "Why would you offer a stranger this kind of opportunity?" Jaden smiled slightly. "Because I believe you're the kind of person who won't let anyone down. You helped me when no one else would, and I think you've got the heart to help others too. That's the kind of person I want by my side." She could see the sincerity in his eyes, and it made her hesitate, but doubt still held her back. "I don't know anything about aviation. I've only ever worked in PR for small companies. I'm not qualified for what you're offering." Jaden's smile widened. "That's not what I'm looking for. I'll teach you what you need to know. What I want is someone who can be trusted, who can make people feel like they're worth something. You've already proven that today. You just didn't realize it." Maya was silent for a long time, torn between the urge to reject everything and the strange, magnetic pull toward this new, unexpected path. "I can't make any promises," she said finally, her voice soft. "I don't even know what I'm doing half the time." "You don't have to make any promises," Jaden said gently. "Just think about it." He handed her a sleek business card, simple and understated, with just his name, the company logo, and a phone number. "Call me if you want to know more. No pressure." He paused, then added, "And Maya, don't think you've lost everything. Sometimes things have a way of falling apart just to show you something better. Don't let this be the end of your journey." Maya took the card, still unsure of everything, but feeling something stir inside her. Something she hadn't felt in a long time, a flicker of hope. As Jaden turned to leave, he paused and glanced back over his shoulder. "And I'll be waiting for that coffee, when we're both airborne." Maya smiled faintly, then watched as he disappeared into the crowd. Maybe he was right. Maybe this was just the beginning. As she stood there alone in the terminal, the future stretched before Hera, future she didn't know how to grasp yet, but one she was suddenly willing to explore. Maya sat at a small cafe in the corner of the airport, the warmth of the cup between her hands offering little comfort against the whirlwind of thoughts that had consumed her since Jaden's offer. It had been nearly a week since their unexpected encounter, and as much as she tried to bury it, the thought of his words kept surfacing. The opportunity, the second chance it, haunted her every waking moment. She stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, watching the dark liquid swirl. Her phone, placed on the table, remained silent. No emails, no calls. The recruiter she had spoken to last week hadn't followed up, and no other leads had come through. The realization hit her again. Without that interview, her career felt like it had come to a grinding halt. She didn't belong here at this table, in this city, in the life she had carved out for herself. Her gaze wandered to the digital board on the wall opposite, flashing the usual airport advertisements. Flight 327 to New York, delayed. Flight 204 to Denver, on time. She shook her head, wondering why she hadn't gotten on a plane and left all of this behind, left this whole mess of missed opportunities. What had she been waiting for? And then her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. The notification wasn't from her recruiter. It was a message from an unknown number. "Jaden Cole, I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. Just wanted to remind you that the offer is still open if you want to discuss it further. Let me know if you're free to chat. No pressure, Jaden." Her thumb hovered over the screen, her heart thumping in her chest. There it was again. That pull. The one she couldn't ignore, no matter how much she tried to convince herself it wasn't the right move. She had always done the right thing, hadn't she? And yet here she was, standing at a crossroads that didn't feel like it was her decision to make. Taking a deep breath, Maya typed a quick reply. "Maya Williams. I'm free to talk. When would be a good time?" She stared at the message before hitting send, watching the little bubbles appear as Jaden typed a response. "Within seconds," he replied. "Jaden Cole. How about right now? I'm at the airport. I'll come to you." Maya swallowed. Right now. It felt so fast, so sudden, but there was no denying the curiosity, the sense that perhaps this was the moment that could change everything. Her fingers hovered over the phone again. She wasn't prepared for a conversation about her future, about the strange offer he had made, about her own potential. And yet, somehow, here it was. She was being pushed toward it, drawn in by the mystery of Jaden and his world that seemed so far removed from hers. But then again, wasn't it better than sitting idle, waiting for something that might never come? She stood up, grabbing her bag from the chair beside her, and adjusting her blazer, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. As she stepped toward the door, her phone buzzed again. "Jaden Cole. I'm in the VIP lounge. I'll be waiting for you." Maya's steps quickened as she made her way to the VIP section, her heart beating in her ears. When she entered the sleek, quiet area, the contrast between it and the bustling terminal outside hit her immediately. It was as though she had entered an entirely different world. Polished floors, soft lighting, plush chairs, and quiet conversations filled the space. She felt out of place, her worn shoes clacking against the floor as she scanned the room for him. There he was, sitting in one of the leather armchairs, his posture relaxed, his presence commanding without being overbearing. Jaden wore a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, and a tailored black jacket. He looked like someone who belonged here, someone who made the rules rather than followed them. But the same easy smile was still there, the one that had disarmed her the moment they met. "Maya," he greeted her with a nod as she approached, his eyes lighting up in recognition. "Glad you could make it." I didn't know what to expect," she admitted, her voice betraying the nerves that she had been trying to suppress. "But here I am," Jaden smiled. "Here you are," he echoed, leaning back in his chair. "I'm glad you came. Please, have a seat." She sat down across from him, still feeling out of place in the luxurious surroundings. "You said you wanted to talk more about the offer?" "Yes," Jaden began, his tone steady but filled with something that felt like purpose. "But before we dive into that, I want to thank you again for what you did for me that day. You helped me when everyone else looked away. Not many people would have done that." Maya didn't know what to say to that. She wasn't used to receiving compliments like that, especially not for something that had seemed so natural at the time. But Jaden was different, and his words felt genuine. "You've got something that I need, Maya," he continued. "Not just the skills, but the character. I believe in people who do the right thing, not for recognition, but because it's what's right. I'm offering you a chance to be part of something bigger than yourself." Maya exhaled slowly. And what exactly would that be? She was trying to be composed, but the uncertainty was creeping in. "Skynova Airlines. We're expanding globally, and I need someone to take charge of our PR efforts. Someone who can build relationships, tell the right stories, and help us grow the brand. Someone who knows how to connect people. And I think that someone is you." Maya leaned back in her chair, digesting his words. Skynova Airlines. She had heard the name before but didn't know much about it. What Jaden was describing sounded like an opportunity of a lifetime. But was it the right one for her? "And why me?" she asked, genuinely curious. Jaden's smile softened. "Because you saw me when I was invisible, and that's the kind of person I want on my team. People who see more than what's on the surface. I'm not offering this as a charity, Maya. I'm offering it because I think you have what it takes to change the game. I believe in your potential." She swallowed. The weight of his words sank in slowly, and a small part of her apart she hadn't allowed to hope in years began to believe him. "You've got a lot of faith in me for someone who's only known me for a few days," she said, the irony not lost on her. Jaden chuckled. "I've seen what you can do, and I think this is the kind of place where you could truly shine." Maya paused, her fingers tracing the edge of her purse. The choice was before her, a chance to take control, to do something new. The future, uncertain as it was, stretched out before her like a road not yet traveled. "I'll think about it," she said quietly, her voice steady. Jaden nodded, understanding. "Take all the time you need, but just know this. If you decide to come on board, you won't be doing it alone. I'll be right there with you." As she stood up to leave, Maya couldn't help but feel the stirrings of something she hadn't felt in years. The excitement of possibility. "Thanks for the conversation," she said, looking at him one last time before turning to go. "You're welcome, Maya," Jaden replied with a smile. "I'll be waiting for your call." Maya didn't sleep much that night. The phone call from Jaden echoed in her mind over and over again, the words circling like a buzz that wouldn't fade. "You won't be doing it alone. I'll be right there with you." She couldn't shake the weight of his offer, the magnitude of it, nor the feeling of uncertainty gnawing at her. Here she was, stuck in a life that felt too small, too safe, and the next step was a complete unknown. But was that the kind of life she wanted to live? Was it really about staying safe, or about finally taking a leap? The next morning, her alarm buzzed, dragging her back to the reality of her empty apartment and her unresolved future. Her coffee brewed as she sat at the kitchen table, staring at her phone, waiting for a moment of clarity that never seemed to come. And then it did, in the form of a simple message. "Jaden Cole. Good morning, Maya. Just wanted to check in. Hope you're doing well. No rush on the decision. Let me know when you're ready to talk more. Take care." She stared at it for a long moment. There was something about his calm, unpressured tone that gave her a sense of peace she hadn't known she needed. But peace was the last thing she had been looking for. She needed more. She needed change. "Okay," she thought. "I'll call him." A few hours later, Maya stood in front of a mirror, trying to make herself look put together. A quick swipe of mascara, a decent blouse, and a pair of jeans she had almost forgotten fit. She felt the weight of the decision in her chest, but she wasn't going to back down now. With a deep breath, she dialed his number. "Hello?" Jaden's voice was familiar, steady, and warm. "Hi, Jaden. It's Maya." Her voice felt small, but she was determined. "I've thought about it, and I'd like to know more about the offer. I think I'm ready." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, followed by a soft chuckle. I'm glad to hear that. I knew you would be. Maya smiled despite herself, but the knot in her stomach tightened. What do I need to know? She asked. I'm not sure where to start. Jaden's tone shifted, becoming more businesslike, but still warm. Well, we're expanding our PR efforts as part of a global initiative. We've got some pretty ambitious goals, and we need someone who can navigate the media, build relationships, and shape our public image. It's a lot, but I think you're more than capable of handling it. Maya leaned against the counter, absorbing his words. And what's the catch? Because, honestly, this sounds too good to be true. No catch, Jaden replied, his voice calm. But you'll be working hard. It's a big responsibility. And it's not just about PR. It's about building something that matters. We're bringing change to the industry and to communities that need it most. I want someone who can believe in that mission as much as I do. Maya felt her heart rate pick up. This wasn't just a job. It was an opportunity to be part of something bigger, something real. And you'd be based out of Chicago, Jaden continued. At least to start. You'll travel a bit, but we'll get you settled. We'll take care of everything else, the details, the logistics. We'll provide the support. She thought about it, trying to picture herself in the role. She had always been good at selling stories, at building connections. But this was different. It felt important. Okay, she said, her voice firm now. I'm in. Let's do it. There was another brief pause before Jaden spoke again. Great. I knew you had it in you. I'll have my team get everything set up for you. I'll also arrange a meeting with the others who are already working on the project. We'll get you integrated into the team right away. Maya nodded, though he couldn't see her. Thanks, Jaden, for everything. I'm looking forward to working with you, Maya, he replied. And remember, you're not just doing PR, you're changing lives. I can't wait to see what you do with this. Maya hung up the phone, staring at the wall for a few moments before letting out a long breath. It was done. She had made the leap. Now, she had to make sure it was the right one. Later that day, Maya found herself sitting in front of her computer, drafting her resignation letter. It was time to let go of the past, to finally embrace the future that had been waiting for her. It wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't going to be fast, but it was going to be worth it. She clicked send, and the email was off. Just like that, everything changed. As she closed her laptop, her phone buzzed again. Jaden Cole. Welcome to the team, Maya. I'm glad you're on board. We're going to do great things together. Her stomach fluttered with a mix of nerves and excitement. There was no turning back now. Maya's first day at Skynova's Chicago headquarters began with a sunrise she hadn't noticed in years. The city shimmered outside the high-rise windows as the car pulled up in front of a sleek, glass-paneled building bearing the company's logo, a stylized wing in motion. It was modern, quiet, purposeful, much like Jaden himself. She stepped out, heels tapping across the stone walkway, and paused before the doors. Her reflection in the glass startled her. There was a weight in her eyes, but something else, too. Resolve. Inside, a young assistant with a badge reading, Olivia, Media Coordinator, greeted her warmly and guided her through security. Maya noted the difference immediately. People here looked each other in the eye, smiled, nodded, not because they were told to, but because something in the air encouraged it. Mr. Cole will see you now, Olivia said after leading Maya to a private elevator. The doors opened into a top-floor suite, more like a modern library than a CEO's office books. Natural light, a quiet hum of jazz playing from somewhere unseen. Jaden stood by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out over Lake Michigan. He turned when she entered. You made it. Maya smiled. Well, you did promise coffee in the sky. He chuckled. And I keep my promises. Jaden gestured to the pair of leather chairs beside a small table where 2 cups of coffee steamed gently. Have a seat. They sat facing one another, sunlight slanting across the floor between them. I wanted this meeting to be casual, he said, his tone warm but deliberate. Not a debrief, not a press rundown. Just you and me. Maya tilted her head. Why? Jaden studied her for a moment, his fingers gently wrapping around the coffee cup. Because before you dive into this world, I want you to understand it. Not the spreadsheets or the press kits, the people, the purpose. He leaned forward slightly. When I started Skynova, it wasn't just to run an airline. It was to challenge the way people like me and people like you are seen. I've been the man no one helped. You saw that. Maya's throat tightened. I did. Jaden, what you didn't know was that day at the airport. It wasn't an accident. I do that once a year. Dress down. Blend in. Watch how the world treats someone without power. You were the only one who stopped. Maya sat back, stunned. You were testing people? Not exactly. I was watching, evaluating, not for judgment but for truth. And you showed me yours. She blinked, unsure what to say. I didn't do anything extraordinary. But you did, he said gently. Most people look away. You didn't. That matters here. There was a long silence, not heavy, but full of things unspoken. Then Jaden changed gears. The global initiative I mentioned, it's real. We're building service hubs in developing countries. We're hiring local workers, training them in aviation support, logistics, emergency response. It's big. It's messy, but it's good, and I want you to be the voice of it. Maya nodded slowly. That's a lot. I know, but you won't be alone. You'll have a team. I'll be traveling with you for the first few months. She glanced up. You will? Jaden smiled. Let's just say, the job comes with a co-pilot. Her heart skipped just a little. She pushed it down. They spent the rest of the morning going over broad outlines, project timelines, media strategy, stakeholder outreach, but it was different from any job she'd ever had. There was no posturing, no hierarchy looming over her, just purpose and people. That afternoon, Jaden gave her a private tour of the operations floor. They passed hangars, training rooms, rows of flight engineers deep in technical briefings. She watched as Jaden paused to greet janitors by name, check in with receptionists, offer a nod to maintenance staff. This company doesn't work without them, he said, and neither will we. As they entered a sunlit conference room, Maya noticed a wall covered in candid photos, technicians in Kenya, women engineers in Jakarta, young apprentices in Bogota. Each picture was pinned with a handwritten note beneath it. One said, "Loyalty isn't loud, it just shows up." Jaden saw her reading. "We let the teams write their own truths." Maya felt a chill not from the air, but from the sudden realization that this wasn't just a job. This was a legacy in motion. As the day drew to a close, Jaden walked her down to the lobby. The sky had turned gold through the massive windows, casting long shadows across the marble floor. "You okay?" he asked softly as they paused near the exit. Maya hesitated. "I don't know. This is more than I expected." Jaden smiled. "Good." She looked at him then, really looked not at the man in the tailored blazer or the billionaire founder but at the person who had once been alone in an airport, ignored, overlooked, and at the man who now saw her fully, completely. "I'm glad I missed my flight," she said. Jaden's smile deepened, but he didn't say anything. He just looked at her with something quiet and certain in his eyes. Then, as she turned to go, he added gently, "Oh, and Maya?" She paused. "Yes? That coffee? Still waiting on it." She laughed, genuine, effortless, and stepped into the fading light with a heart just a little lighter. 6 weeks later, Maya stood at the edge of a crowded airfield in Nairobi, Kenya, the wind tugging lightly at her blazer. The midday sun pressed down over a row of hangars gleaming with fresh paint, each marked with the Sky Nova logo. Behind her, dozens of local engineers in navy blue jumpsuits gathered near folding chairs, some clasping training certificates, others holding back proud tears. And in the center of it, all standing taller than anyone, was Jaden. Maya watched from a few steps back, heart swelling with something she couldn't quite name. It wasn't just admiration. It wasn't just gratitude. It was something deeper. Respect. Connection. A voice crackled over the field speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chief Executive Officer of Sky Nova, Mr. Jaden Cole." The crowd broke into applause. Jaden stepped to the podium, looking every bit the leader the world would expect. Calm, composed, commanding. But when he spoke, his voice was soft, personal. "I come here not just as a CEO," he began, "but as someone who remembers what it means to be overlooked, what it means to be told, 'You don't belong here.'" He paused, scanning the crowd. "And yet, today, look at what we've built together." The audience quieted. We are not just building aircraft support centers, he continued. We are building dignity. We are restoring possibility. And none of it would be happening without the people who believed when no one else did. His eyes flicked briefly to Maya. She felt it like a current. A wordless recognition between them, born not from romance but from something far rarer, shared purpose. Later that evening, after the ceremony, Maya found herself alone with Jaden on the balcony of a hotel overlooking the city. The lights below twinkled like grounded stars. Between them was a bottle of South African white wine, half full. You know, Maya said, cradling her glass. 6 weeks ago, I thought my life was over. Now I'm halfway across the world helping launch a program I didn't even know existed. Jaden chuckled. You're more than helping. You're shaping it. The coverage your team pulled together? We've already been contacted by 3 partner airlines. She smiled, setting the glass down. I'm still learning. Every day feels like a first day. Jaden leaned forward slightly. Good. That's how you know it's worth doing. There was a silence then. Not awkward, but full. I saw what you did for the technicians today, Maya said. You stood with every one of them for a photo. You shook every hand. I meant it, Jaden replied. When you've been invisible, you remember how much it matters to be seen. He looked at her then, and this time the look lingered longer than it had any right to. I never expected this, Maya said, breaking the moment gently. Not just the job, all of it. The people, the impact, you. Jaden tilted his head, smile deepening. Neither did I. The breeze picked up, brushing past them like an unseen presence. Maya pulled her blazer closer, then looked out at the horizon. She thought about the version of herself who had once sprinted to Gate 6A, breathless and desperate. That woman felt like someone else now. Someone still inside her. Maybe, but quieter, braver. I think I finally get it, she said softly. Get what? What you meant about this not being just a company. It's a promise. To everyone who's ever been left behind. We're not just giving them wings. We're teaching them how to fly. Jaden didn't respond right away. He simply looked at her, as if memorizing the way she said it. Exactly, he said finally. They sat in silence, letting the evening settle around them. Then, almost shyly, Maya said, So, about that coffee I still owe you. Jaden laughed. I was wondering when you'd bring that up. I'm a woman of my word. And I've been waiting. She smiled. Then let's make it count. They clinked glasses softly. A quiet toast, not just to a shared past, but to a future wide open, uncharted, and already underway. The private Skynova jet touched down with barely a bump on the tarmac at the São Paulo Congonhas airport. From her seat, Maya watched the ground crew rush forward beneath a sky tinged lavender by dusk. Beside her, Jaden flipped through a stack of briefing folders, calm as ever. Maya hadn't slept much during the flight, not from nerves, but from anticipation. This wasn't just another ribbon-cutting event. This was her first major international expansion as Director of Global Communications, her team, her strategy, her voice guiding the message. And tonight, that voice would reach over 100 journalists, officials, and aviation partners across South America. As the cabin door opened and the air outside rushed in, Maya stood and smoothed her jacket, then glanced at Jaden. Nervous? He asked, already knowing the answer. No, she replied, then smiled. But ask me again in an hour. Jaden grinned and offered his arm, a playful gesture. Let's go make some history. The press conference was held in an open-air hangar lit by hundreds of suspended Edison bulbs that cast golden halos over the crowd. The Skynova banners rippled slightly in the breeze, framing a small stage where Maya would soon stand. She walked slowly past the audience, passing workers in crisp navy polos, Brazilian government reps in tailored suits, and a crowd of trainees standing at the back, some barefoot, some in beat-up sneakers, all eyes bright. Her breath caught. This is what she had helped build. People who once believed the sky was out of reach now stood beneath it, holding their place with pride. When her name was announced, Maya stepped up to the podium. The applause was immediate and warm, not roaring, but sincere. She adjusted the mic, took one calming breath, and began. 3 months ago, I was sitting alone in an airport terminal, convinced that I'd just lost the most important opportunity of my life. Murmurs moved through the crowd. I missed a flight. I missed an interview. I missed what I thought was my chance at success. But sometimes life takes you off course to show you something bigger. She paused, locking eyes with a woman near the back, a trainee with wide eyes and trembling hands gripping a small notepad. This, Maya gestured around the hangar, is what I would have missed if I hadn't stopped, if I hadn't looked up, if I hadn't helped someone. She didn't mention Jaden by name. She didn't need to. But tonight isn't about me. It's about you, the young women and men standing here who will one day keep the world in motion. It's about those who were told they weren't enough, not skilled enough, not rich enough, not visible enough. She let the silence stretch. At Sky Nova, we don't just believe in travel, we believe in transformation. And we know that sometimes the first runway you need isn't made of concrete, it's made of belief. Oh. The applause this time was thunderous. From the side of the stage, Jaden watched her speak, not with pride, but with something gentler, more intimate. Respect. Admiration. When Maya stepped down, he met her halfway. You gave them more than a speech, he said softly. You gave them a reason to believe. Maya exhaled, her adrenaline ebbing. They gave it to me first. Later that evening, the two of them sat side by side on the rooftop of the hotel. The city stretched out before them in golden haze. Maya still wore her blazer, but her shoes were off. Her feet dangled from the ledge. Jaden poured 2 glasses of champagne, the bottle quietly hissing in the background. To missed flights, he said, holding his glass up. To new destinations, Maya replied, tapping hers against his. They drank. Silence wrapped around them, comfortable and unhurried. Jaden leaned back, his voice quieter now. I've been thinking about something. That's dangerous, Maya teased. He smiled, but didn't laugh. I used to think success meant building something no one could tear down. Now I think it means building something worth sharing. Maya turned to him. You've done both. Jaden met her gaze. Only because you showed up. A beat of silence stretched between them, until Maya reached out and placed her hand gently over his. Maybe I wasn't just meant to catch a flight, she whispered. Maybe I was meant to catch you. Jaden's jaw tightened slightly, emotion glinting just behind his eyes. No one's ever said that to me, he admitted. Maya smiled. Good. Then I get to be the first. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But the closeness between them had already closed the distance. It was no longer about proximity. It was about arrival. And in that rooftop silences surrounded by the city, the stars, and all they had helped lift, Maya and Jaden simply sat together. 2 people who had found more than success. They had found each other. The next morning, Maya stood alone inside the training hangar, surrounded by rows of neatly aligned airplane parts, maintenance tools, and chalkboards filled with sketched diagrams. The facility in Sao Paulo had only been operational for 2 weeks, but it already buzzed with the energy of something far larger than itself. She walked slowly between the aisles, taking in the small detail of safety checklists laminated in Portuguese, neatly labeled toolkits, and walls covered in Polaroid photos of new recruits, each face full of hope. It reminded her of the school science lab she once loved as a teenager, back when she still believed in a future she couldn't yet name. Now, that future had a name, a purpose, a mission, and it had wings. Jaden stepped in behind her, his footsteps silent on the concrete floor. You're up early, he said gently. Maya turned, smiling. Habit. Can't sleep in when your brain's writing speeches at 5 a.m. Jaden tilted his head. Still thinking about last night? I'm thinking about what comes next, she admitted. We've lit the fire. Now we have to keep it burning. Jaden nodded. And you will. This is just the beginning. They stood in the stillness, the light from the high windows spilling over the floor like morning fog. Then Jaden said something that made her chest tighten. I want to take you somewhere today. Maya raised an eyebrow. You planning to whisk me off to another continent before lunch? He smiled faintly. Not this time. They boarded a small Sky Nova shuttle that afternoon and flew 40 minutes inland to a rural hillside community called Jacutinga. There, on the edge of a clearing surrounded by red dirt roads and waving banana trees, stood a small building with a tin roof and a handmade sign. Centro de Treinamento Sky Nova, Esperanza. Hope, Maya whispered, translating aloud. Jaden led her through the doors. Inside were half a dozen girls, no older than 10, sitting in front of computers made from repurposed aircraft tech. They looked up, wide-eyed, then smiled. "This is our pilot STEM program," Jaden explained. "We're teaching kids the basics of engineering, physics, and mechanics. We're not just training workers, we're raising dreamers." Maya walked to one of the stations, watching a girl with braids type code into a dusty keyboard. She was building a simulation of a drone flight. "She said she wants to build the first plane that flies on salt water," Jaden translated, reading the chalk notes on the board. Maya's chest ached in the best possible way. "Jaden," she whispered, This is everything." He didn't respond immediately. When he finally did, his voice was low and steady. "I've built companies, I've made money, but I've never felt like I was building a future until now." Maya looked at him, her eyes shining. "Then let's build it together." That night, back at their hotel in Sao Paulo, Maya stepped out onto the balcony, the city buzzing beneath them like a heartbeat. Jaden joined her moments later, 2 cups of tea in hand. He handed her one. "You said something last night, about catching me." She looked up. "Yes? I think I was falling long before you knew it." Maya's breath caught, not because of the words, but because of the quiet certainty behind them. "You make this easier," she said. "The chaos, the stakes, you make it feel steady." Jaden turned to her, his voice soft. "That's what real partnerships are. It's not about saving each other, it's about staying with each other." A pause. Then Maya reached out, fingers brushing his. "So, are we doing this?" Jaden's lips curved. "The project?" She gave him a look. He stepped closer, closing the small space between them. "Yes, Maya, we're doing this. All of it." And this time there were no interruptions, no flights to catch, no words left unsaid. He kissed her, and the world did not fall silent, it simply aligned. Because for the first time in both their lives, everything was exactly where it was meant to be. 6 months later, New York City. Autumn leaves clung to the sidewalks outside the Grand Conference Hall on 5th Avenue. Inside, the International Aviation and Social Impact Summit had drawn the world's eye, and Maya Williams was center stage. She stood behind a sleek glass podium, flanked by banners from Boeing, Airbus, Sky Nova, and the United Nations. Her name, once lost in an overlooked resume, now flashed across digital screens alongside the title, Director of Global Communications, Sky Nova International. But Maya didn't look at the screens. She looked at the audience: executives, journalists, engineers, skeptics, and more importantly, at the front row where Jaden sat, arms folded, eyes steady, like always. She took a breath. Then she began. 6 months ago, I missed a flight. A few chuckles, a few tilted heads. I thought I was missing my future. What I didn't realize was that I was stepping into it. Her voice was steady, clear. She wasn't the woman who once sat on an airport bench defeated. She was the woman who had learned to rise. "I don't come from wealth. I wasn't groomed for power. But I believe in something bigger than both visibility. In a world that often refuses to see the overlooked, Sky Nova has chosen to build a system where no one gets left behind." Behind her, the screen showed a montage of the training centers: Sao Paulo, Nairobi, Jakarta. Faces of young women welding parts. Elderly workers returning to teach apprentices. Children drawing wings on scraps of cardboard. "We've launched 7 technical academies in underdeveloped regions, trained over 2,000 new aviation support workers, and we're just getting started." Murmurs. Applause. But Maya didn't smile, not yet. "I'm not here to give a corporate pitch. I'm here to ask a question." She paused, then looked at the room, voice lowering. "What's the point of flight, if only a few are allowed to take off?" Silence. The kind that listens. "We can talk engines and innovation all day, but at Sky Nova, our true mission is restoring human dignity. We're not just lifting planes, we're lifting people." The standing ovation came slowly, but when it did, it was complete. No one sat. Jaden didn't clap first. He stood with them, not as her boss, but as the man who believed when she almost couldn't. Later that evening, Maya stood alone in the lobby of the Waldorf Astoria, staring out the arched windows into the city's night. The echo of her own words still lingered in her ears, but it was something else that kept her still. Footsteps. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. "You left before I could say congratulations," Jaden said, his voice low. "You already said it." Maya replied. When you stood up. Has... Jaden stepped beside her, the city lights reflected in the glass. You were extraordinary today. She shrugged lightly. I was honest. And that, he said, is what makes it extraordinary. They stood in silence, watching the cabs crawl below. Then Maya asked, You think this is it? That we've done what we set out to do? Jaden smiled. I think we've started something no one can stop. She looked up at him. And us? His answer was simple. We were never about beginnings. We're about choosing over and over again. And as the ballroom music drifted into the quiet marble hallway, Jaden reached into his pocket, revealing a small, folded napkin. Scribbled on it were the words, You helped me once. Let me help you fly. Maya took the note, gently unfolding it, smiling through tears that refused to fall. Too late, she said softly. I'm already in the sky. He laughed under his breath. Then let me fly with you.